I was cooking dinner when my phone rang. It was an unknown number. My daughter looked up shaking. "Don't answer it, Dad," she said quietly. "Please, trust me." I let it go to voicemail. I turned back, and that's when the knocking on the front door. The pan hissed when the oil caught heat, its crackle sharp against the silence of the house. I was slicing garlic when the phone lit up, unknown number. The blade hovered midair. My daughter sat at the table, elbows pulled tight to her ribs, eyes fixed on the glow of the screen. She looked like she'd seen a ghost. "Don't answer it, Dad," she whispered, voice trembling in a way that wasn't childish fear. It was something heavier, calculated, like she knew the weight of the call before it spoke. I stared at her too long, then let it ring, until the sound died and the voicemail clicked. Silence stretched. I turned back to the stove, but my hands weren't steady anymore. Then, knock, hard, measured, the kind of knock that doesn't ask permission. My daughter flinched. Her eyes pleaded with me, but her lips stayed closed. I walked to the door, every step echoing louder than it should have. The garlic burned in the pan, sour smoke filling the air. I didn't open it. I just stood there, staring at the wood, waiting for the next knock. It came. 3 slow thuds. I felt my daughter's breath behind me, shallow, controlled. That's when I realized she knew who it was, and she didn't want me to. The door never opened. The knocks stopped. Whoever it was, left, or pretended to. I shut off the stove, sat at the table across from my daughter. The garlic blackened, smoke curling toward the ceiling. Neither of us cared. "Who was it?" I asked. She shook her head, too fast, too desperate. "Nobody, just don't answer calls like that." Her eyes darted to the phone. The voicemail icon blinked like a warning light. I played it. A man's voice, low, calm, too familiar. "You can't hide her from me forever." My stomach clenched. My daughter's hand shot across the table, grabbing the phone, ending the message before the next word. She wouldn't look at me. And in that silence, I remembered. Months ago, the late-night texts my wife dismissed as work-related, numbers with no names, the way she locked her phone tighter than the front door, her sudden errands. I thought I was paranoid then. Now I wasn't so sure. Because my daughter wasn't afraid of strangers. She was afraid of secrets. Ones she'd been forced to keep. Ones my wife had buried in her silences. And in that moment, I knew betrayal was sitting in the house with me. I didn't confront her that night. I didn't mention the call. I just let the silence rot between us. Instead, I began collecting pieces, quietly. Phone records first. A second line registered under her name. Dozens of calls in the dead hours of night. Always the same number. Always hidden when she was home. Receipts next. Hotels in the city. A weekend she claimed to be visiting her sister, yet the charges showed champagne for 2, a room for 2. Every detail fit together like a puzzle I never wanted to see completed. But the worst came from my daughter. Not directly, she never confessed, but children carry truths in their bodies. I saw the way she stiffened when her mother's phone lit up, the way she lingered by my side after school, as if measuring whether I'd finally see what she already knew. I began keeping a log. Times, numbers, dates. Proof stacked neat, quiet, undeniable. On the outside, I smiled at dinner, kissed her cheek when she left for meetings, helped with homework. On the inside, I sharpened myself. I wasn't preparing for an argument. I was preparing for a reveal. One so cold it would leave her exposed. Because confrontation is never about rage. Rage makes you sloppy. But silence? Silence makes you lethal. The DNA test arrived in a plain envelope. I'd swabbed my daughter's cheek one morning, pretending it was a silly science project. She hadn't questioned it. She trusted me. The results broke me cleanly, without hesitation. Probability of paternity, 0%. She wasn't mine. The paper trembled in my hands, though my face stayed blank. The world didn't end in thunder. It ended in statistics. That night I waited. She came home late, smelling faintly of cologne that wasn't mine. She dropped her bag, kissed my cheek, lied with her eyes. I handed her the envelope. "What's this?" "Open it." Her fingers faltered on the seal. She read. Color drained from her face. When her eyes lifted to mine, they weren't pleading yet, just wide, shaken. "Who told you to?" "I didn't need anyone to tell me," I said. She broke then, stammered, tears slipped fast. Excuses, half-formed, spilling into the kitchen like the smoke from the burned garlic still clinging to the walls. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't touch her. I just stood there, watching her drown in her own words. The truth was a mirror, and she couldn't look at it without shattering. The next morning I sent the DNA results, not to her lover, not to friends, to her parents, to her sister, to the people whose approval she craved like oxygen. I attached no message, just the truth, plain, clinical, undeniable. By evening, her phone was exploding with calls she couldn't answer. The walls of her perfect image cracked loud enough to hear in every corner of the house. When she stormed into the kitchen, red-eyed, shaking, I was calm. "How could you?" she hissed. "How could I?" I repeated softly. "I didn't lie. I didn't cheat. I didn't bring another man's child into this house and make him raise her." Her hand flew to her mouth, but it wasn't guilt that silenced her. It was fear. Fear of what I'd take from her now. I didn't yell. I didn't demand. I simply slid a folder across the table. Custody papers I'd already drafted, signed, prepared. She froze. "I'm not fighting you," I said. "You've already lost." Her body folded in on itself, trembling, gasping. She looked small, hollow, and I felt nothing. The house is quiet now. My daughter, no, not by blood, but by choice, sleeps upstairs. I told her the truth in careful fragments. She didn't cry. She only asked one question. "Will you still be my dad?" I answered without hesitation, yes. Because love isn't DNA. Love is the promise you keep, even when someone else breaks theirs. As for my wife, ex-wife, soon enough, her voice still echoes in voicemails, begging, cursing, pleading. I don't return them. The silence between us is my final revenge. I used to think betrayal destroyed a man. It doesn't. It clarifies him. And clarity is sharper than any blade. Now, when I look at her name flashing on my phone, I don't feel rage, or sadness, or even memory. I feel nothing at all. And that nothing is everything.